And welcome back to the Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jono, and today I'm bringing you the Thanksgiving Day preview. It's going to be jumping first thing in this morning, so be sure to get into your lineups, take a look at where my starts and sits are, jump into it. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're here to talk about the Thanksgiving Day preview. As you can see, I'm not in my usual little studio space. I'm traveling, visiting family. Hope you all are enjoying your family as well on this great holiday. But let's get into what we're really here for, and that's who are we starting in one of these three games, and what should we be doing with our lineups? It's a short week. 6 teams are playing on a short week. Actually, I should say 8 teams if you count the Black Friday game. So let's jump into the first game on the Thanksgiving Day slate. And that's going to be Lions versus the Packers. Lions here, we have Jared Goff, cautionary start. Big thing about Jared Goff against the Packers have not yet let up a 300-yard passer and have only given up 2 touchdowns to 2 different quarterbacks. That's it. Otherwise, everybody's been 1 touchdown or 0 against them. Those 2 quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins, who at the time was leading the NFL in touchdown passes, and Justin Herbert, who was able to throw 2 as well. So I think it's a cautionary thing here. The fact that they have been pretty good against and stingy against the quarterback positions, mostly too because they haven't been so great against the run, but it's tough to, with the pieces around Jared Goff, such as Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs out the backfield, Sam Laporta, that you don't want to try and start this guy in a good rivalry setup. Here, he has a chance to go off. He's been pretty successful on Thanksgiving Day in the past. I'm still firing him up unless he's your second quarterback and you have a better option. You're starting both these running backs here because, as I said, Green Bay's defense is not great against the run, so you want to exploit that. Dave Montgomery, yes, he had that one big 75-yard run, which saved his fantasy day. However, I still think he's going to get his opportunities. Jahmyr Gibbs is as well. These 2 are going to be a tandem back and forth the rest of the season. Amon-Ra St. Brown, lock and loaded starter in your lineup every week. We don't even have to debate that. The guy is fantastic route runner. He's always going to find himself open, whether in man or in zone coverage. Any other wide receiver I'm not really trusting. Jameson Williams' snap count has gone up. I don't still love the way that he's doing in the route tree that have him running. They haven't taken many deep shot chances with him as of late. A lot more runs and screens and different trick plays with him to try and use his speed. We know what his speed is. It's downfield, take the top off the defense speed, and they haven't been really doing it yet. Sam Laporta, you see the caution next to him. The thing about Sam Laporta here against Green Bay is there have only been 2 tight ends against them that have gone over 6 fantasy points. In the last game Laporta played against him, he was 4 for 54. And the big thing is when Montgomery and Gibbs are playing in the game and both healthy, he has yet to get more, I think, than 5 targets a game. Obviously, when one of those guys are out, he is being heavily targeted. He's a bigger piece of that offense. But when this running game is moving a lot better in tandem between the 2 guys, I don't see him getting the usage that he does when one of those guys is out. So you are starting the Detroit Lions defense. Aiden Hutchinson is going to get after the quarterback early and often. This defense, the Packers offense that we'll talk about, is missing pieces in their running game. They have not been that strong through the air as well. Last week, they were able to put up some good numbers fantasy-wise and win a ball game. But to me, they're a beatable team offensively. So fire up the Detroit Lions defense. Let's move over to the Packers offense and these fantasy pieces here. I have Jordan Love as a start. He looked much better last week as a passer. I do like it here because the Lions have given up 8 touchdowns in the past 4 weeks. 7 of them came between 2 quarterbacks and 1 from Justin Fields last week. And I'd say take it with a grain of salt because Justin Fields also, don't forget, ran for over 100 yards with his legs. So the quarterback position against the Detroit Lions I like a lot. Let's move on to the running backs here. This is one of the things that I do like for this running back offense, but I don't like for this running back offense. So Lions gave up 1 rushing touchdown each of the last 4 weeks and 14 receptions total and with 39 plus yards to all the running backs out the backfield, except in the Bears game. Um, but they've at least given up 68 rushing yards per in each game in the last 4 games. But we have AJ Dillon. I have him as a sleeper here because he has an opportunity to really get going. But I think this team is going to take away AJ Dillon. He doesn't have the explosiveness. I think you're going to see Jaden Reed be somebody that they use again on end arounds and some reverses and stuff like that to get some speed through that backfield. I just don't love it. I believe they called James Robinson up from the practice. Well, I don't know if they called him up, but I know he's on practice team here. I don't know whether that's worth it or not. Teams have been bouncing him around the whole time too. Don't love the AJ Dillon play. If you can avoid it, avoid it. Christian Watson, I have as a sit. If he did not get that touchdown last game, he had a terrible fantasy day. That touchdown saved his fantasy day. Romeo Doubs has had, I think it's 4 touchdowns in the past 5 weeks. He is finding the end zone because he is one of the most, if not most heavily targeted wide receiver in the end zone in the NFL. And then Jaden Reed, I also have a start here as well because they're going to find ways to use him not only in the passing game, but in the rushing game. Jordan Love has seemed most comfortable throwing to Doubs and Reed more than he has thrown to Christian Watson. Luke Musgrave is out, and I'm not trusting any of the depth at the tight end, so tight ends are a sit. Musgrave has been put on IR with a lacerated kidney from last week's game, so he's going to be out for some time. So if you're a Musgrave owner and somebody who is streaming tight ends, well, you get an opportunity to put him on an IR spot, but you're going to have to go look for somebody. Go grab Pat Fryermuth. Go grab Cole Kmet. Go grab any of these guys here. They're kind of on that same level and fire them up. And this Green Bay Packers defense, like I said, has been pretty stingy against the quarterback. They've been okay against the run, not so great. I just don't like it against a Lions team that is just rolling, and they're finding ways to put points on the board. It could get out of hand quick for Green Bay. I know it is a good divisional rivalry, but again, this Lions offense looks really good, and even when they go down a little bit or get down, they are bulls, and they're going to find their way back into scoring some points. Let's move on to the next game. Second game of the day is going to be Cowboys Commanders. A lot of green here. No, it's not Christmas yet. That you can see we have starts across the board. To me, Prescott has been playing some of the best football of his career, and I think that's due in part to not the play calling change, but the play calling ratio of rushes to passing. He also feels a little bit more comfortable out there, and I think at the end of the day, this guy could end up being in line for talk for possible long shot MVP candidate. However, I think with Dak Prescott, when you have people like CeeDee Lamb, they bring in Brandon Cooks, they've got a decent tight end in Jake Ferguson, and it doesn't matter who's running the ball for them as long as they can keep progress going. This Cowboys team is pretty tough to beat. That defense is fantastic. So you're starting everybody here. I even like Rico Dowdle. This is one of those games where they can get up big on the Commanders, and then they'll just lean on Rico and Tony Pollard, swap it. And to be honest, Rico's had ups and downs in terms of his production when he gets the ball, but to me, he has the opportunity. He looks like he's got a little bit extra motor going at times than Tony Pollard does when he gets that ball. It's like shot out of a cannon. So to me, Dowdle could get in. He gets some good garbage time. He's a great flex opportunity if you need to here due to injuries of any sort. CeeDee Lamb, to me, could be the wide receiver 1 for the week. He's got a fantastic matchup. Him and Dak are working in tandem like they haven't ever before. And I think it's going to be an awesome day for them against a very weak secondary in the Washington Commanders. Especially the fact that their 2 biggest pass rushers were traded away this season, so Dak has a lot more freedom back there. I mean, we just saw Tommy DeVito throw all over this defense. Come on, guys. Brandon Cooks, sleeper pick here for us. He's been up and down. He's had some great games. He's had some dud games. He's had some great games. I think this is another great game for him. The opportunities are going to go up. He's going to be open. Him and CeeDee Lamb are going to be running all over this field, and Dak's going to have his pick of the litter. Start Jake Ferguson as well. Again, he is a nice target in the red zone and end zone for Dak Prescott. And this Cowboys defense is a must start. If you're not starting this Cowboys defense, you better have somebody better on your bench that you're starting over them. Let's move on to the Washington Commanders. This is a little bit different. Here's the red when we talk about Christmas, green and red. I'm sitting most of this team, if not all of them. I could stream Logan Thomas here, but let me talk about why I don't like Sam Howell. Sam Howell against the Giants last week, and we know the Giants can show up defensively. You got Wink Martindale as your defensive coordinator, but he had one touchdown and three picks versus the Giants. He's thrown nine touchdowns and five picks in the last 4 weeks. Okay, that's not great numbers to me. That's not what I want to be streaming in fantasy wise against the Cowboys. So I'm not going to even put him as a sleeper because he has a chance to get against second string and sling the ball around. I just don't like it, period. We're getting close to playoff time here, people. You don't want to be risking a week 12 matchup a couple weeks before playoffs when you may need a win by starting Sam Howell. Now, I get it if that's all you got. Too many quarterback injuries this year. You never know. But me, not trusting it. Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson's going to be questionable for the game. I'm still sitting both of them. To me, they've been pretty good against the run, the Cowboys. Not fantastic. But again, if this game gets out of hand, they're not going to be running the ball that much. And I know Robinson got the ball out the backfield in the passing game quite often against the Giants in the week before that. I still don't love it. He's not going to have this big fantasy saving day for you. So if you have another option, go ahead and run him in there. If you're not starting Howell, you're probably not starting McLaurin and Dotson. But I do like Logan Thomas, those short yardage, quick hits, especially in the red zone, end zone area. He could maybe walk away with 45 and a touchdown. He is a streamable tight end, but there's better options. But I'm putting him down as a sleeper because there's a chance that he may be the guy who has the most production out of the Commanders' offense. And I'm not going to start this defense. This defense, I was very hopeful preseason, and they've just since traded their players away and just shown that they can't cover anybody. So not even going there. Let's go to the third game of the week, and this one's going to be a big one too, a nice divisional rivalry game again with the 49ers and the Seahawks. You're starting Brock Purdy. This guy's been playing lights out, especially since the bye week. And to me, he has an opportunity here against the Seahawks to have a great game against them as well. Let's talk about Christian McCaffrey. You're never going to sit him when he's on the field. Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel are two sits for me out of this offense. I just think Deebo, he was saved by the touchdown 2 weeks ago. Last week didn't get a touchdown, had negative rushing yardage, and he was held to about 60 yards offensively in a game where they were able to throw the ball and get ahead big. I don't know if that's going to necessarily happen in this game here because the Seahawks defense is decent enough to put some pressure on this offense, and they've seen each other enough. I just don't like Deebo. I think he's more the guy who's the odd man out because you still, if I like Brandon Ayuk and I like George Kittle, you can't like Deebo Samuel. If I like Deebo, then Ayuk or Kittle is somebody I'm not going to like. There's just not enough volume out there in this team, especially with the way they run the ball with Christian McCaffrey. I am starting Brandon Ayuk. He's playing great fantasy football for you. He's playing great football, but he himself has been exactly what I said preseason he would be, the number one guy on this team. George Kittle, he's been playing fantastic as well. Him and Brock Purdy are awesome together. Now, the tough part being, again, if it ends up being a Deebo Samuel day, I think George Kittle's the one that kind of falls to the wayside instead of Ayuk, but I just don't see that happening. I think these two guys are connected at the hip, Purdy and Kittle, and they're fantastic. And then the San Francisco 49ers defense, I am starting them. I know they have not been great every single week, but you've got a banged up Seattle offense. You have a doubtful running back. You've got a questionable quarterback that's likely to play, but still dealing with a bruised elbow. Throw out that there. You've got two great pass rushers in Chase and in Bosa. I think it's going to be a fun day for the 49ers out there. Let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks, the last team in our Turkey Day lineup. Geno Smith is a sit. He is likely to play, but I don't want to risk a likely to play as well as playing him, even though it's only a bruise. You never know how that's going to act because it was on his throwing arm. Kenneth Walker is doubtful to play with an oblique injury. Like I said earlier in a short, Kenneth Walker with the oblique injury could have been like Christian McCaffrey and came back and not missed a week. But it could also have been closer to Jalen Waddle, who missed multiple weeks in the preseason in nursing that injury back. And on a short week, it just wasn't likely that he'd be coming back. So Zach Charbonnet is going to be the one to go. But Zach Charbonnet is up against a tough defense because they've held running backs to under 87 yards and only let up 2 touchdowns to running backs in the past 4 weeks. So under 87 yards a game and only 2 touchdowns in 4 weeks to the running backs position. So I don't love it for him here. And I also think they're going to split carries with somebody else. I don't know if they'll give him the full workload. Now, 49ers against the quarterbacks this past 2 weeks, they've given up 1 touchdown and they've had 3 INTs to quarterbacks, which is another backup reason why I don't like Geno. I know you're saying, well, if you don't like Geno, why do you like Metcalf and Lockett? Because you just said if you don't like Howell, why do you like McLaurin and why do you like uh, Dotson? Well, this is different here because DK Metcalf has had 9+ targets in 3 out of the last 4 weeks in the last 2 games. He's also had over 90 yards in the past 2 weeks in tough matchups. This team, the Seattle Seahawks, I give them, they've got grit and they don't go away. So at the least, I think even if Metcalf doesn't get in the end zone, he's going to have the target share and yardage to do it too. And I like Lockett as well because he has it's between 7 and 10 targets the last 4 weeks. And again, he's had touchdowns and 90 yards. He says as low as 40 or 60. But the odd man now is going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's just not getting the volume that those 2 other guys are having. And I think in a game, if Geno Smith is a go, you got to like these two because it means he's healthy enough to play with that bruise. If he's not a go, I still like it because they're still going to sling the ball. Um, I just don't see a case where they won't if they're not going to be successful on the ground and they got to keep up with the Niners. So why not throw out the 2 guys that are going to most likely get the ball? I still downgrade them a position. I mean, DK is more like a low end wide receiver 2, and Tyler Lockett is more of a wide receiver 3 or flex play, but they have the upside there. That's all for our Thanksgiving Day preview. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button if you like the content so you get all the drops. We also have an episode coming up here shortly that is going to drop on our Black Friday football match between the Dolphins and the Jets. And you're like to tune on that one so that you get your lineups ready for the weekend. All right. As always, thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.